If we see some of the recent amendments that have been introduced, we see a very interesting trend. Most of the provisions now have a specific mandate to say that the board, with the previous approval of the central government, may prescribe guidelines for the removal of difficulty. There is also additional provision to say that any such guidelines shall be placed before both houses of the parliament before they become effective. When we see the guidelines which have been introduced pursuant to such provisions, there is a slightly disturbing trend. While the whole purpose of introducing such guidelines is removal of difficulty, and therefore one would generally believe that this will help administer the new provisions in a fair and proper manner. But when it comes to the actual reading of the guidelines, we find that the board, instead of confining themselves to removal of difficulty, also tries to interpret the provisions. And I think this is the aspect which is likely to create both a dilemma in the minds of the SSC, as also it will go through a judicial churn. Technically, one may be able to argue that the whole mandate of the provision is only for the purpose of removal of difficulty, and therefore, if the guidelines interpret the provision and such interpretation is not in accordance with the law, then such guidelines or aspects relating to interpretation which are not in accordance with the current law, those will not be binding on the SSCs. But only after the judicial review on this whole aspect settles, one will have clarity, and therefore one can expect significant amount of litigation, especially insofar as the guidelines are interpreting provisions not in accordance with the law.